Hello, everyone. I'm excited to talk to you today about a new GitHub Skills exercise that we just released called Integrating MCP with Copilot. What's MCP, you might ask? It's Model Context Protocol, and it's an open standard that defines how applications can share data with large language models, or LLMs. MCP provides a standardized way to connect AI models to different data sources and tools, enabling to work more effectively together. In this issue-based skills exercise, we'll walk through setting up an MCP server so that we can talk to GitHub and execute tasks via our VS Code IDE right there in GitHub Copilot Chat. Let's get into an overview and talk about what we'll learn in this GitHub Skills exercise. Before we get into the exercise, I'd like to walk through this diagram very quickly. As you can see as a developer, you'll talk through the MCP servers via GitHub Copilot. And we have some options here in this example of talking to a GitHub, Slack, and Figma MCP server. Now I'm ready to start the exercise. I'll say copy to exercise, which then offer me the option to put it under my GitHub handle or organization of my choosing. I'll put a comment here in the description, and then I'll click create repository. This will set up the repository under my GitHub handle, as you can see at the top. And then I'll do a couple of refreshes until it says go to exercise. At that point, I'll be ready to start the issue-based exercise. As you can see, this is a diagram that we started with when I first introduced the exercise. Now I'll right-click on Open in Codespace, and I'll create a new Codespace, which is a fully fledged development environment with all the extensions I need, including Copilot and Copilot Chat. I'll also want to start my application as well, so I'll use the built-in configuration set up in the launch.json to start my application. Once it's started, you should get an indication that it's ready to open up in your browser once it's been fully started, as you can see here on the right. Once the application loads, we're ready to proceed to set up the MCP server. We'll come down and we'll see that we're being told to set up agent mode here in Copilot Chat. So we'll select agent mode. Now we have a config for the MCP server for GitHub. We'll call it mcp.json. We'll save it. At that point, we'll also need a GitHub token. So we'll echo that on the terminal. And then when I'm prompted, I'll enter it and start the server. And you can see all the options and features are available by the MCP server. Now that we're happy with this, we'll scroll down, read the rest of the instructions, and see that we have to commit and get a commit message from GitHub Copilot if we like, and then push that up to main. At this point, we're waiting to see if we pass that part of the exercise and we can continue on to the next activity. And we have. Now that we have the MCP server set up for Talk to GitHub and Copilot Chat, we can talk to it in our natural language. We can query to see if there's any other repositories out there that are doing similar extracurricular activity management. We can pick one of these and try to compare them to what we currently have in our project. We can also create an issue based on this and then proceed to the next step. There's a lot of issues created, so we'll pick one of them. In this case, we'll pick number 3 and implement it. We'll look at our code base to see what has to be implemented. We'll create a branch, check it out, and then merge those changes up to that branch. Once that's been done, we can now proceed to creating a pull request for our changes. We can also then update an issue with those changes that were merged in our pull request. At that point, we're done, and we'll have some useful links from GitHub Copilot and from the skills exercise that we've already created to tell us other resources we can look at and dig into about MCP and Copilot. I hope you enjoyed a brief overview of our GitHub Skills exercise, and go to skills.github.com to enjoy other exercises in our catalog. Thank you.